Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to tit-bits on business and finance with me. To state the most obvious, the continued lockdown and the corona crisis have inflicted an immense damage on the Indian economy and the damage continues. One of the stakeholders in the Indian economy in a very direct basis is the income tax department. After all, tax collections grow in tandem with the status of the economy. If the economy grows, tax collections also obviously grow. From a different perspective, the income tax department is actually a partner of every taxpayer and it collects its share of income by levy of income tax. Thus, it is in the income tax department's interest that the goose that lays the golden eggs is made to survive, is made to revive, and it comes out of this crisis and it doesn't close down or go dead. The IRS Association very recently issued a report called FORCE, which is Fiscal Options and Response to the COVID Epidemic. The report is meant to give a feedback to the government by way of measures that can be used for reviving the economy. It is meant to infuse life back into a sagging economy, as the report says. It has been prepared by 50 young IRS officers and they have leveraged their combined experience, knowledge, expertise, and commitment to come up with measures and suggestions to ensure that we have a healthy, strong, and prosperous India. The report, of course, mentions that the COVID crisis has been the worst global crisis in this millennium. It has inflicted immense human suffering and it has disrupted the economy, not just in India, but across the world. And as per this report, the government must spend considerably more in order to ensure that the economy comes out of it with a minimum possible damage. And for that, it says that additional revenue will have to be raised without hurting the common man, the common taxpayer. The report reiterates that support must be given by the government at this point of time to the common taxpayer so that his situation improves fast after the lockdown is lifted and the corona ends. The report further notes that there has been stress in almost every sector of the economy and it mentions a number of sectors where stress is clearly being noticed. And then it mentions in a separate section a global study on what many other countries have been doing in order to support the MSME sector, the stressed MSME sector in the respective nations, such that the damage by the COVID crisis and the lockdown on them is the least possible. And thus, it gives suggestions for revenue raising, for expenditure, for helping the MSME sector, for helping the taxpayer, and for tax administration such that compliance does not go down, and also to ensure that tax evasion does not take place by tax evaders at this time taking advantage of the crisis. So, what are the principal or the primary or main suggestions that this report has made? Let's consider them. In order to raise additional measures so as to meet the expenses arising out of the COVID crisis and also to provide for a fiscal stimulus in case the government chooses to announce one, the FORCE report suggests a number of measures to raise resources by way of taxes and otherwise. It suggests at the outset that India's super rich must be taxed. It defines super rich as those who earn income of 1 crore plus per year. And the report suggests that they must be taxed at a maximum marginal rate of 40% as against the present rate of 30%. It further says that India must get back wealth tax. Anybody who's got net wealth exceeding 5 crores must pay wealth tax. And similarly, the report suggests that inheritance tax, which was there in India until 1985, must be brought back. By doing so, not only would resources be raised, but it would also reduce inequalities in wealth and income in India. It also suggests that a COVID cess must be levied, and by doing so, in its estimate, almost 18,000 crores can be raised as a one-time measure. It further suggests that just as we have NSC certificates, which is for tax saving, similarly, national COVID certificates must be issued in order to raise resources for this purpose. All this additional revenue, it suggests, must be used for funding crucial national projects in such a manner that the public sees how all this money which has been raised is being utilized. The report further mentions that foreign companies must pay additional tax and that any foreign remittance going out of India must also be taxed on a higher basis. And finally, it says that persons of Indian origin who inherit wealth in India, they must be paid 10% extra capital gains tax. Those are the principal measures it suggests in order to raise additional revenue. The report then says that defense expenditure needs to be scaled down in order to save resources which are used for national economy building. It also says that projects like the bullet train, projects which have been announced on a grand basis by the government, can be delayed so that funds are made available for a fiscal stimulus. And it further suggests that the government's total revenue expenditure this year is about 26.5 lakh crores. Even if 10% of it is saved, those savings amount to 2.6 lakh crores, which can contribute to a national fiscal stimulus, which according to the report must be announced. The report further suggests that minimum income must be declared for 12 crore households and that a 3-year tax holiday should be given to the healthcare industry, which consists of hospitals, consists of pharmaceutical companies, any company making medical equipment, etc. That stimulus, that incentive, it says, is badly needed. In respect of the MSME sector, which has been badly impacted as the report recognizes, it suggests that there should be carry backward of losses. The sector is expected to incur losses this year and it should be set off against past 5 years' income such that MSMEs might just receive refund in the process. That's quite a revolutionary suggestion as far as Indian income tax is concerned. Further, it says that MSMEs must be given a 1-year moratorium in order to pay taxes. And interestingly, it points out that there must be no income tax scrutiny this year. These are the principal measures that the report has suggested, and they did not go down very well with the government. The government's reaction once the report was made public was swift, sharp, strong, and extremely critical. It says that these views expressed in the report are not of the CBDT, they are not of the Ministry of Finance, and nobody asked them to prepare it. It thus says that the report is ill-conceived, the views expressed in it are also ill-conceived, and it termed this report as an act of indiscipline on the part of the IRS officers. The government said that the officers will be made to explain their misconduct, and what misconduct? That they prepared this report on their own. In our opinion, we may have differences of opinion with some of the suggestions in the report, but we really do not think that it is malified. This is a bona fide report according to us, and the report has been issued out of a sense of concern for the country. There is a crisis. All of us need to put in our bit in order to handle this crisis, and the IRS officers, by virtue of their standing, are certainly in a good position to give suggestions. After all, they do have the knowledge, experience, expertise, and here they are showing the commitment in order to come up with suggestions which can be implemented. Thus, according to us, the government's sharp reaction, critical reaction, is not warranted. The government's ire, according to us, is probably because of the fact that here is a report which says that there is a crisis. It is a report issued by government officers. The government so far itself has not been accepting the kind of crisis we have been facing, and thus it has not come up with a fiscal stimulus. Here is a report that says that there is a crisis, damage has been done, a fiscal stimulus is needed, an immediate response is needed, and apparently it shows the government in poor light so far because of its inaction in not coming up with any concrete measure, not coming up with any concrete fiscal stimulus package in order to revive a sagging economy. Perhaps the government's ire is because a mirror was shown and it doesn't show the government in good light. A larger picture could be that this is a backlash by the IRS Officers Association against the government. Year after year in the past few years, the government has been foisting a completely impracticable and non-achievable target for tax collection on the officers. very often the targets that have been given to them are just not possible, and they are compelled to initiate measures of recovery which they also know are not correct. They don't leave a good taste in the mouth of anybody, neither the taxman nor the taxpayer. And for all you know, this could be just one of the measures of showing displeasure by the IRS of Officers Association against their bosses sitting in the government. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel.